Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Toy, and this is my presentation. I'll be exploring stakeholders management through interviews with two managers, one from a for-profit and one from a non-profit organization. We will compare their insight and reflect on how stakeholders theory plays out in real-world settings. The interviewee, a program manager at Torrens University, Australia, a for-profit institution owned by Strategic Education Inc., was selected due to their strategic role in academic operation. As Torrens operate on a tuition-driven models, it highlights the balance between education and profitability. Therefore, these settings offer valuable insight into how for-profit university manage diverse stakeholders in stress, including students, staff, partner, and investors. The interviewee, a program coordinator at the Smith family, was chosen for their hands-on roles in delivering community-based educational programs. As a non-profit organization, they focused on social impact and work with diverse stakeholders, offering a valuable contrast to for-profit models in the same sectors for an analysis and comparison. To explore stakeholders' relationship, I selected two program coordinator in the education sectors as their roles involve wide stakeholders engagement. I identify candidates via SIG profile and public hotline numbers. Initial contact was made by phone to introduce myself, explain the assignment purpose, and confirm their willingness to participate. Both coordinators responded promptly, suggesting suitable interviews times. I confirmed by sending a calendar invite via Outlook and Zoom link. Following our phone call, I emailed a formal invitation outlining the interview purpose, duration, confidentiality assurance, academic affiliation, and the focus on comparing for-profit and non-profit stakeholders. This interview supports my academic research on how managers engage with stakeholders in for-profit and non-profit organization. I aim to explore priorities, conflict management, and views on social responsibility. With your permission, I'll ask a few brief confidential questions lasting about 5 to 10 minutes. The questions are, first is, as a manager or supervisor, who are your key stakeholders? Second, what are the stakeholders' priorities and do they differ? Third, what, if any, stakeholders' tension does the manager have to deal with, and how is the situation approached? Fourth, the manager believes that the business has a responsibility to help tackle societal issue, for example, climate change, gender equality, etc. Interviews with a program manager from Torrens University and a program coordinator from the Smith family show clear differences shaped by their organization model. Both roles involve diverse stakeholders, but priorities differ. The for-profit focused on performance metrics and financial goals, while the non-profit prioritized equity and social impact. Both managers faced stakeholders' tension using communication and negotiation to manage competing needs. On social responsibility, both agree in it matters central for the non-profit and growing importance for the for-profit. Overall, stakeholders' engagement is shaped by whether an organization is driven by profit and or purpose. For the first question, both interviews is highlighted key stakeholders and share successful collaboration examples. At the Torrens University, the program manager focused on students, especially international ones, post-COVID, by involving them in planning a hybrid orientation. Engagement rose by 35%. At the Smith family, the program coordinator prioritized children and indigenous families. During program expansion, they consulted elder, adapted content culturally, and introduced training, leading to 60% increase in participation. Both cases show that meaningful stakeholders engagement lead to stronger outcomes, whether the goal is student retention or community trust and inclusion. The interviewers reveals key differences between the for-profit and non-profit approach to stakeholders engagement. The Smith family is mission-driven, focusing on disadvantaged children, while the Torrens University prioritizes students as customer. Their engagement styles reflect their cultures. Torrens uses structured tools like surveys, whereas the Smith family relies on community dialogue. Stakeholders in for-profit and are seen as part of a service system, while the non-profit treat them as co-creators. Additionally, the Smith family shows strong cultural responsiveness, adapting programs to local needs. Finally, power dynamic differ. Torrens may overlook emotional needs, while the Smith family amplifies the voice of marginalized group. This analysis aligned with Freeman's and Mitchell stakeholders theory, which highlighted power, urgency, legitimacy. In both interviews, managers show strong awareness of stakeholder needs through personal engagement. As a result, some voices, such as students' feelings invisible or elder seeking cultural respect, are acknowledged informally but not always included in ongoing strategy. Adding structure method could help organizations better respond to as prioritize change. Digital look like forums or dashboard could also support more regular input, making stakeholders engage more inclusive, consistent, and aligned with theory. For the second question, for both managers, surprise balancing competing stakeholders' expectation at Torrens University for profit. Student wanted career focused, fast track learning, while staff emphasized academic quality by facilitating open dialogue. The manager piloted a new block model showing the compromise is possible when all voices are heard. The Smith family donors want the detailed data, but many families lack access or stability. The manager proposed mixed reporting approach, combining personal story and statistics to meet both needs. These examples show how stakeholders management often involve navigating tension, and that ethical leadership means protecting vulnerable groups while still addressing the goals of more powerful stakeholders. This comparison shows that stakeholders management look different in for-profit and non-profit settings. At Torrance University, decisions were shaped by data and student feedback, reflecting a focus on return on investment and performance. In contrast, the Smith family prioritized ethical value for protecting vulnerable families even when it conflicted with donor demands. Power dynamic also varied. Student voice needed data to gain influence for the top in the for-profit, while staff in the non-profit balanced donor power to protect community interests. This analysis aligned with Freeman's stakeholder theory and expand through Winwood and Donaldson trust and Preston ethical perspective. Both managers show commitment to protecting vulnerable stakeholders, students, families, even when it conflicted with their internal goals or donor expectations. These actions reflect ethical prioritization suggested by nominative stakeholder theory. However, the decisions were made informally without clear reference, ethic policy, or formal framework. Both managers faced stakeholder conflict and responded by seeking deeper understanding beyond surface data. At Torrance University, a campaign boosted enrollment but causes academic staff stress and concern over quality. The manager identified trust issue and formed a joint task force, leading to a fairer admission and improved outcome. But the Smith family resource allocation initially favored one school due to their higher engagement data. However, a site uncovered barriers faced by migrant families, prompting a need-based relocation. Both cases highlighted that resolving conflict requires listening, context awareness, and balancing fairness with impact. At Torrance, getting staff involved through roundtable discussion really helped rebuild trust and improve outcome. It showed that even in a for-profit setting, listening to people and including them in decision makes a difference. At the Smith family, the focus was more on equity than just the number. When they visited undeserved schools, they uncovered issues like language barriers and traumas that the data didn't show. That led to a fairer way of sharing resources. So overall, both cases prove that listening, empathy, and understanding context are key. So in this case, the both manager handled stakeholders conflict actually reflect how what we see in negotiation theory, especially iterative bargaining, which is also solving problems together rather than competing over limited resource. They didn't just make top-down decisions. They brought people into the process and used real story to build understanding, which tie into narrative, empathy. But what's interesting is that while this approach made effective, neither manager mentioned using any form of follow-up, like survey or check-ins, to see how well the solution worked for long term. The last question, both managers responded to complex stakeholder needs with a strong focus on inclusion and empathy. At Torrance University, the manager pushed for online accessibility after feedback from a legally blind student, releasing that true inclusion requires redensing system, not just ticking boxes. Meanwhile, the Smith family, the manager led a fast, compassionate response to family displaced by the Black Summer bus fire, cutting through red tape to provide real support. Both can show that effective stakeholder manager isn't just about policy, it's about speed fast and living the values that organization want to model for the society. What really stand out from both interviews is how lived life experience shaped real change. A tolerance student feedback lead to better accessibility, while the Smith family bushfire response show how power of fast and empathetic action. Both organizations move away from top-down approach, working with communities and indigenous partners as co-creator. Towards Green Campus strategy also show that even for-profit institutions are starting to take social and environmental responsibility more seriously. These examples tell us that meaningful stakeholders engagement isn't just about listening, it's about acting quickly, designing with people, not for them, and staying connected to local context and culture. This example connects well with Carroll CSR pyramid and Porter and Crown ideas of shared value. Both organizations went beyond compliance or charity. They embedded social goals into their core operation. Torrance align is Green Campus strategy with student feedback, while the Smith family respond directly to community need during crisis. That share value in action, but here's the gap. While the efforts were impactful, there wasn't much data to measure that impact. No carbon reduction figure or student retention stats were mentioned. For the conclusion, Based on the comparison of Torrance University and the Smith family stakeholders analysis in education should go beyond power interest models, the interview showed that trust, empathy, and cultural identity matter deeply. True engagement means co-creating with communities, not just consulting them. Ethical, human-centered approach lead to a more inclusive, lasting stakeholders relationship. These interviews show that stakeholders conflict can be useful. It signals when systems need adjustment. As tolerance, internal tension lead to more inclusive planning. At the Smith family, resisting data-heavy demands, protected vulnerable family. Both cases show that real engagement means listening deeply, valuing story, and prioritizing equity over efficiency. In education and social impact work, stakeholders' engagement should focus on justice, context, and the real challenges people face.